wrapping up International Women's Month. It's in March, right?
Yes, so we wrap up at the end of March.
Yes.
Absolutely, and we're going to take full advantage of really celebrating women of industry. And our particular industry for today is motorsport. You know, very exciting for, feminists to get into that space. And there's lots of room, as I understand it, for women to participate. So as the world marks International Women's Month, and as we continue on that journey, the spotlight in South Africa's enduring series falls on the work that is happening behind the track, while General Manager Cindy van der Laan plays a central role in keeping the championship moving with consistency and control. We're going to talk about the roles that speak to a deeper shift within motorsport, where leadership is becoming more reflective of the country that it serves. Okay, we're going to look at the environment. We're going to look at just the presence of women in this particular sector. So let's have a conversation. On the line, we have van der Laan, who's joining us on the line, as I understand it, so we can speak about this conversation. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Really exciting news to be on with you.
Absolutely. Let's talk about, perhaps we can start with your own journey in motorsport. It sounds very intimidating at first, but we're moving out of that now. We're moving out of being fearful of conquering our passions as women. So how did you meet, motorsport and find yourself in spaces where you're in leadership?
So my journey in motorsport actually started with my own children competing. Prior to that, I've always been involved in some form of motorsport. And basically, motorsport, just for me, it's fascinated me because it combines engineering, strategic, human performance, and it's got a lot of storytelling to it, which is fantastic, which I think a lot of other sports don't actually have. There's a massive ecosystem behind the racing as well, which is your teams, your promoters, sponsors, broadcasters. So working all together and creating something fantastic at the end of a race weekend is truly inspiring for me. I kind of realized that over time that motorsport wasn't only about what happens on the track, but it's about building platforms to allow drivers, teams, and brands to grow together. And that was the broader vision, which actually pulled me deeper into the industry.
We are currently in conversation with Cindy van der Laan. She is the general manager at the SAES, South African Endurance Series. And we're talking about the rise of feminine leaders in the space of motorsport. And she's going to tell us more about her team and also the series itself and what we can look forward to. So don't go anywhere. That conversation continues right after this.
As Africa renews, so does its voices. 60 years of Channel Africa.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Historia msikilizaji ya Valentine Day au siku ya wapendanao ilianzia katika nyakati za kale za dola la Roma. Watafiti wengi wa historia wanaamini kuwa siku hii inahusishwa na sherehe za kipagani zilizokuwa zikifanyika kila mwaka katikati ya mwezi Februari. Msikilizaji, sherehe hizo zilijulikana kama Lupercalia na zilifanyika kuadhimisha uzazi, upendo na mwanzo wa majira ya kuchipua.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Your afternoons just got even better, fresh and exciting. The Upside, hooking you up with today's news from an African perspective.
20 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African time. Today, women are increasingly shaping decision-making in motorsport, from operations to strategy and leadership. And Cindy van der Laan, she is the general manager of South African Endurance Series. She's no exception. Cindy, let's talk about the powerful women that you are working alongside to ensure that this South African Endurance Series is a success.
We've got a massive network of females that work within our series, from your administrators to even your scrutineering agents. We work very closely hand in hand to ensure that we grow motorsport for females as well. And we are trying to basically see a greater accessibility into motorsport for not only competitors, but people who want to work in the industry. Motorsport can sometimes seem close to newcomers, but that's where we're breaking barriers by working with certain teams, certain groups, to ensure that we bring those elements back into motorsport.
I think we just lost Cindy there on the line, but we'll work on getting her back. But beautiful to see that in what is perceived as a very male, not perceived, actually it is, a very male-dominated industry, male-dominated space, motorsport. We are seeing the rise of women in leadership roles. Cindy van der Laan, she's the general manager of the South African Endurance Series. Alongside her, the acting CEO, Liyema Letlaka, and then the marketing director, Mihlali Mehlomakhulu. All powerful women saying, you know what, we can also do this. And we want to ensure that women, girls get into the sport of motorsport. I was shocked, I'm not going to lie, a couple of months ago, I came across this young lady on social media, and her content is all about F1. I was shocked. I was like, I didn't know that there are females who are so passionate about the motorsport. And she's one of the very few content creators who are talking about, and she analyzes it and unpacks. And I started learning more about motorsport and F1 from her. I was like, this is very impressive to see. But 22 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African time, we'll get Cindy back on the line and continue our conversation with her.
Call us on +27 63 406 9126 and contribute to the conversation.
The whole population of Africa has been shocked to the depth of its soul.
For 60 years, Channel Africa has been the voice that connects the continent, telling our stories and sharing our vision with the world. This year, we mark 6 decades of broadcast excellence.
60 years of stories, sound, and connection.
6 years of African conversations that matter.
This is 60 years of broadcast excellence.
Broadcast excellence, rooted in Africa's heartbeat and looking boldly into the future. Join Channel Africa as we celebrate 60 years of broadcasting. Still strong, still vibrant, and still giving you the African perspective.
Channel Africa.
Late night with African stories that matter. Tsepiso Makwetla on Africa World Hour.
I mean, we're seeing South Africa face challenges in the enforcement of an NHI plan. The Minister of Health is contending with legal action. There might be a will, but there would be opposition. And what is most important is the issue of equitable health services. How do we make sure that those policies translate into that?
Let me just give you a real example. In 1926, Japan started to discuss about primary healthcare and universal health coverage. By 1961, Japan was fully with universal health coverage. Do you know how long they live? They've got the longest lifespan in the world. So it's not theory anymore. In any country during COVID, if you remember 4 years ago, which fared well, there are those countries which had a very strong primary healthcare system. Because when we say health sovereignty, it's not about closing the doors to the partners. No, this is a process. But we need to give where our priorities, what can we do more with less?
Regional Director for Africa, Professor Mohammed Jacob.
Late night with Tsepiso Makwetla. End your day inspired by Africa World Hour on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Broadcasting in 5 different languages, connecting the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Welcome back. 25 minutes into 2 and still in conversation with Cindy van der Laan, General Manager of the South African Endurance Series. We're really just looking at her journey and looking at feminine leadership in motorsport. Very, very important. Cindy, Tebogo made such a wonderful example, actually, just before we took recess for the segment, around a woman that he saw on social media. and she is young, and she's talking about F1, and she's an analyst, and she's engaging in thought leadership around motorsport. So clearly the world is shifting and changing in the favor of women. So I want to get your thoughts around the importance of visibility when it comes to encouraging young women to consider careers in this particular space.
Look, I think the space has definitely changed over the years. Motorsport is a lot more welcoming for females in motorsport, which is fantastic at this stage. I think the biggest challenge at this stage for females in motorsport is not so much talent, but I think it's more of a financial backing. I think as South Africa, we still need to get behind our drivers and put a lot more effort and, from a partnership base into them to give them the opportunities that do exist. And let's try and put it through South Africa instead of just chasing them away and saying, go straight away, race overseas, let them use their talent here and let's watch them grow. We've got many great drivers out here with a lot of talent at the end of the day.
As a motorsport fan or motorsport fans, they focus more on the race. You get to see the behind the scenes. Walk us through what typically happens on a weekend of a racing event that we don't get to see.
So I think, as a spectator, you kind of arrive, everything's there, everything's happening. There's a lot more to it. I'm dealing with media on the day, spectators, your lifestyle elements, your team members, your track officials. So there's a lot more that goes into a race day than actually the eye sees. And not even just on race day. The pre-prep work before a race weekend is also quite incredible. It's getting all the legalities in place. It's getting from City of Joburg, City of Tshwane, City of Cape Town. So I don't think a lot of people get to experience that and understand the magnitude that it actually takes to put on a race weekend. It's not just, rock up and drive and everyone's happy. There's a lot more that goes into it. But nonetheless, it's extremely exciting. And once you've pulled off a race weekend and you've worked with officials, you've worked with the media, you've worked with the drivers and teams, and they've all had an incredible weekend, that in itself, no one can pay you enough money to have that kind of feeling. It's absolutely magnificent.
Wow. It sounds like just such an exhilarating space to participate in. But just on our staying around transformation and what meaningful transformation looks like, particularly from an operational perspective, because we're talking a lot about, the racing and what things look like, from a social media perspective. But very quickly, if you can just talk to us about operational matters and transformation.
Yeah, so we work quite closely with a group of females, obviously trying to grow more females in motorsport. From a social media point, from an official's point, we help them get their journey going. So we help them get to the correct channels, which is obviously through our ASN, which is your Motorsport South Africa, where they do various courses, they then do their licensing, and then we take them under our wing to help them at race days. We put them with officials that have been around for ages, so that they can learn their ways. I think the biggest thing for anyone that's wanting to get into motorsport, you need to know you're going to work hard, because motorsport is so fast-paced that the rules change from day to day. So if you're not wanting to learn more or things like that, then, maybe a different sport, but motorsport, you have to be on top of it. And it doesn't matter if you're sitting as an administrator in the office or you're a scrutineer out in the field. You need to know absolutely every single rule there is, because you never know what you're faced with on a race weekend.
Cindy, we really appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to the next race, which will be happening in about 24 days' time. If you'd like more information about that race, go to saeseries.com. That's SAE series.com. But Cindy, thank you so much for your time this afternoon on Channel Africa.
Thank you so much. That was so much easier. I appreciate you phoning back.
The voice of Cindy van der Laan. She is the general manager of the South African or Southern African Endurance Series. Again, if you want to find out more about the work that they do and the next event that you'd like to attend, SAE series, SERIES.com. 30 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. Let's get the latest sports.